Hi, I'm Cole.
And I'm Zole, and we're your High School Happening Sports Patrol.
This month, we took a close look at an issue that's been impacting athletes across the city: concussions.
Concussions. They can happen in any sport. Some see it as a simple hit to the head. Some see it as a bad headache. Some think it's nothing. But it's something way more than that.
Hi, my name is Francis Coulombe, and I suffered from a concussion last year playing rugby with Colonel By Secondary School.
Rugby is a sport that involves a lot of contact and risks for injuries and head injuries. Concussions are the most prominent rugby injury and also a very serious injury in sports.
So we were playing against Brookfield High School, and we were very short on players, so I had to fill in positions that I didn't usually play. And just being in that different position landed me in a situation where I had to make a tackle from kind of a weird angle. And it was bad luck, I guess. I put my head in the wrong place, and the opposing player's knee just came and connected me right in the orbital bone. And so that resulted in a fracture, multiple fractures on my skull, and a pretty severe concussion.
After the hit, Francis was knocked out. He couldn't respond and needed to go to the hospital after the game, where the doctor confirmed he had a concussion.
Francis had to go through a recovery process where he would stay in a dark room all day, doing nothing to help his brain recover.
You don't really realize what a concussion really is until you suffer from one, and I don't wish that upon anybody, but it's just, before I thought, okay, you get headaches, blah, 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 but it is much more than that.
His concussion really affected Francis, as he was behind in schoolwork and could no longer participate in sports for a while. Fortunately, since he was diagnosed with a concussion from the beginning, he was able to make a full recovery and is back to his old self.
I fell unconscious for a short period of time, and then when I woke up, I didn't know what was going on at all.
Maeve's concussion was due to an unfortunate play where she tackled the girl that fell on her head. The girl's knee also hit her on the side of her head, causing an immediate concussion.
It probably took me about 4 months where I could get through the day without having any headaches or any pain.
Her recovery process was tedious, as she had to spend a month in bed, avoiding any sort of light whatsoever. The recovery period was lengthy, and it took a while before Maeve could live a normal day.
I think concussions are incredibly serious. As someone who's had a lot of injuries, I feel like my concussion was probably my worst one, just because it's affecting your brain, right? Like, your knee can heal and it'll be better, but when you get a concussion, it affects your mental stability.
Having lived through a lot of injuries through sports and life, Maeve believes her concussion was the worst one yet.
Be careful about concussions and preventing them, because they're really terrible.
Concussions are very serious injuries that need a professional's attention. Thankfully, there are specialists out there that can help people make full recoveries.
My name is Christian Goulet, Dr. Christian Goulet. What people don't realize, and what I always try to tell people, is that concussions is not just a brain injury, it's a full body injury. And when you're injured, your full body is affected. Your body goes, in essence, almost to a state of shock. Other things you have to realize is that concussions, as soon as you get a concussion, your brain is in a constant state of repair. I think a lot of people forget that. But our brains are very resilient. We've been evolving for millions of years, and our brains want to get better from it. So every concussion, as soon as you get hit, your brain does go in a state of repair. When you have a concussion and you get hit, it's not 1 hit plus 1 hit equals 2, it's like 1 hit plus 1 hit equals 10. And that's where these concussions can last a lot longer than what they should, is when you have what we call that repeat injury. And one of the worst things that can happen is the second impact syndrome, and that's why a lot of doctors, we wave our hands so much about, safe return to play, because there is something catastrophic that can happen if kids get hit before they're ready, and that's what happened to Rowan Stringer, and that's what this Rowan's Law is all about.
Concussions were always seen as a serious injury, but everything changed after Rowan Stringer passed away from second impact syndrome after suffering multiple concussions in girls rugby.
Rowan played for John McCrae and suffered a concussion in a rugby game after a hit to her head. She took a few hits in a game and got headaches, but did not tell anyone. She played another game in which she took another hit that caused the headaches to return, but she didn't say anything. Finally, in her last game, she did not feel well, but still wanted to play. That was the game where she sustained her last concussion, which led to second impact syndrome and her passing a few days later.
To make sure that this would not happen again and no one would have to go through what Rowan and her family went through, the Stringer family created Rowan's Law.
So what basically Rowan's Law is trying to put in some safeguards to prevent what's happened to Rowan on a number of different levels, with the presumption that if perhaps there was more knowledge out there, that if, whether it be Rowan herself or Rowan's teammates, coaches, trainers, there was more knowledge about concussions, that there would have been different decisions made, and whether Rowan would have been more forthcoming with her symptoms, or maybe her teammates or her coaches or trainers would have been more able to identify it and identify that she was having concussion symptoms.
That's it for this month from the High School Happenings Sports Patrol.
Over to you, Mateo.